Hey everyone. So today I want to make a web app because I have this idea. Actually, I was looking for something that would allow me to convert random articles into podcast episodes. I just want to listen to some articles instead of reading them. And I looked around. You already have lots of apps that would read stuff, like Pocket. There's some read later apps. You can just add it there and it will do something. And the last time I checked, the voice wasn't that good. But also it's an app. You have to have this special app. This feature actually just converting text to speech is included in iOS, probably in Android as well. If you just open an article in Safari and go to reader mode, you can ask Siri to read it. Again, the voice isn't as good, and it's just that one article. You cannot have a queue. You cannot save this for offline or anything. So it's quite limited. I wanted to have a simple thing where I would just submit a link, and then a few minutes later, an episode of a podcast would appear with that voice. And it would be some sort of my private podcast. I would subscribe to my whatever podcast client I use. I don't want separate apps for this. So I looked around, and there was this post 2 years ago on Reddit, which is just exactly like that. Someone said, I made an app that turns articles into audio, sends it to your podcast player to listen later. It sounded like exactly what I wanted, but I guess it's pivoted a little bit. In like the first comment here asks if it works with academic articles, like scientific publications, papers, PDFs. And I think they pivoted towards this direction because now it's kind of the target audience. It's listen to academic papers. And it still works with any random articles, but it's geared toward this. But the most important thing, it's no longer a thing that sends audio to like a regular podcast feed. It's an app. So you have to download an app. I think it's a subscription.
A convolutional neural
The voice
network
is pretty
a
good.
type of deep learning algorithm.
I think with modern AIs, the voice generation is just amazing. But this is not what I wanted. I didn't want to have a special app. So I looked around more and didn't find anything special. So I decided, let's just build this together. I have a vague idea how to do this. So don't think this is like a high production, well-prepared coding tutorial. This is just an attempt to do this kind of live. And basically what I want is an HTML page with some password protected page just for myself. Not necessarily local hosted, just somewhere. So I can access it from anywhere on the go. And it's basically just this input field with a button, right? And you put any link here, and it then goes into some sort of processing where it would extract the article out of it, because it's just an HTML page, but I just want the article. So things like this reader mode in Safari or Mozilla's readability thing where you get just plain text. So like readability. Okay, so you got the idea. So extract the article. Then I want to send it to some sort of text-to-speech generation, and I think I played around with OpenAI's API, and it's quite good. So I guess this would just go to OpenAI. This not a prerequisite. There are other models, but this and the API is really easy to work with. I then want to get whatever it outputs, and I think it outputs just MP3 files, and save it into some sort of storage. So I decided for this whole project to use Cloudflare developer platform. I'm not affiliated with them. They're not sponsoring or anything. It is a proprietary platform in a sense like AWS is, but it's I found it very, very easy to work with, and they're making amazing progress. I'm actually building two projects there right now. One of them is quite complex. I can show you maybe. It's this website called Minifeed, which is a blog discovery and search tool. So it's basically a curated collection of blogs, and like a normal blog reader where you can, subscribe to blogs and then read them in the feed. You can follow other people who subscribe to something else, and then you see what they subscribe to, like in this friend feed. And you can search. You can search across, like full text search across all blogs. It's acting like a search engine, scraping content. It's quite complex in the sense that there are many moving parts. There's nothing complicated. It's just lots of stuff happening. And it's using Edge database. The whole thing is just Cloudflare Worker. It's not it's not like a front-end heavy single-page application. It's a super classic, just complete server-side rendered HTML, like God intended, with some minor HTMX things for handling this kind of without page reloads. But this is not React or anything. You can still do React. They have a special thing to host static assets and server, but I use this just as a simple web app generator. So I use their database to store this. There's a key value storage to store some sessions, etc. I have some AI to, not really AI, but it's part of the AI offering, but it's just vector database, and the vectorizing worker to create entries. So this is how I generate these related articles that are kind of related to this. There are queues, there are scheduled. Of course, this is a blog reader, so it needs to update all the hundreds and hundreds of blogs every half an hour, I think I set it to. So there's like scheduled execution of queued jobs, and it works really fast. Like as an admin, I can see here that this took 1 millisecond, the database query, but maybe this is quite simple. If I go to my feed that shows me all of the things that I subscribe to and my friends are subscribed to, it's still quite fast with thousands of rows. So yeah, my point is I like this platform. I have some experience building on it. So this is why I'm going to use it here, which brings us back to this. So once I get the MP3 file, I'm going to store it in some storage. And on Cloudflare, there's this thing called R2, which is kind of AWS S3 object bucket storage. And it can be made public so that the files you upload there are accessible, which is what I want, because then I want to take that MP3 file, so MP3, and generate an RSS feed with the specific podcast fields, which would make that RSS feed pluggable into any respectable podcast player. A respectable podcast player is the one that allows you to subscribe to any feed by direct RSS, not necessarily to some curated catalogs of like iTunes podcast or anything. So I usually use Pocket Casts on iOS. I've been using it for years. It's quite good. And it can handle RSS feeds. It can actually handle even private RSS feeds, where I think on Patreon, if you start the podcast there for your patrons, then they get either some specific unique URL, or on some other platforms, they would just have HTTP basic auth protecting the URL where the feed is located. And I think Pocket Cast and some other clients can handle that. You would put your credentials and it would get that RSS even behind auth. So this is the final thing. So basically, a few steps. I don't want this to be super long video, so I'm going to make some questionable decisions and maybe we will fix them in future videos. If you are interested, let me know. Also, I have to say by law that you have to like and subscribe. I guess this is how it works. I don't know. Okay. So to start, we need to start with Cloudflare. So if I do just workers like quick start, they have some tutorials. So a worker in Cloudflare is kind of like a serverless function that gets invoked when a particular endpoint is hit. Basically, this means it's a small app that would route your requests if you write a router and return some response. It's like a very, very thin layer of abstraction on top of HTTP, which I like because it's not a framework. It's not like heavy with abstractions like Rails or Laravel or something like this. It just gives you access to the request that the client sends, and then it's up to you to do something with it. You can do complex logic, or you can just respond. You can just respond with the response and put whatever in it. And you could put static HTML and would be just very quick static website. The way they propose to work locally and to develop is to install this thing called, what's it called? Wrangler. And it's just an NPX, what's it, NPM? I don't know. It's actually written in Rust, but you install it using the Node ecosystem package managers. And then you don't actually have to install it separately. If you go through one of these quick starts, you use this create app thing, and it would install Wrangler if it's not installed. So let's just do that. So hopefully this is good enough. So I'm going to call this link article. Let me think of a good name. So I want to convert articles to podcast episodes. So linkcast. Linkcast, sure. So this would install some packages, sure. And I think this tutorial, so this kind of quick start package that they provide gives you some templates. And I want to have a framework starter. And you don't have to do this, you don't have to use any frameworks, but I found this particular framework called Hono very good. It's super lightweight. Again, it's not, I wouldn't even call it a framework in a sense that like Rails is a framework where you just learn Rails and you might not even know what SQL is or HTTP is. You like work on this completely different layer on top of everything. Hono is very low level. So you still have access and you work with things like the request headers and the SQL. But it just provides a bunch of very handy things like parsing cookies. Even just accessing those headers is just simpler. It's nothing super high level and you can do everything without it. But just to save time, I'm going to use it because I think for a few things, like at least cookies, it would be just easier. All right. It also asks if I want to use Git. Sure. Do I want to deploy the application? So this is interesting. If you say no, it just creates your local folder with an app and you can run it locally and preview it. And most of the features actually work locally. So even though they have a bunch of services like in AWS, like the queues and object value storage, key value storage, whatever, most of it works locally. So it's quite an amazing experience because you don't have to deploy for some complex things which you would expect only work remotely. Some of them only work remotely, like the scheduled executions, at least for now, only work remotely. The vector database only works remotely. But they provide a way to develop and run things remotely in development mode. So it's not even a staging environment. They're actually a way to also have a proper staging environment and have this gradual deployments. But just developing, you can run the thing in the remote mode, it would run in the actual Cloudflare environment, but all your changes would be automatically uploaded there and updated. But here it asks us about deploying the actual like production deploying the application. So I'm going to say yes. So it's running this Wrangler Who Am I? And I think I'm already logged in. Yeah, because on this machine, I'm using this every day. If not, you would open a web browser and ask you to log into your Cloudflare account and authorize this instance of Wrangler. And yeah, so now it created this like a utility or like service URL for my worker, and here is deployed. I have this hello Hono, which is like a template default. So if we go into this, what was it called? Linkcast? Yeah, if we go to this Linkcast, it's a basic Node.js app. The difference is it's not really Node.js. So the environment where this runs in Cloudflare is Node.js compatible, but not completely. So I think workers, yeah. So they have some info about this, and they have a bunch of most important APIs of Node which still work there, but there's no DOM. So any package that depends on DOM wouldn't work. I mean, there's no DOM in Node.js either, but there are other things that are not here. They are adding more and more every month. And I think there's even some compatibility matrix. I'm going to link it in the description. So yes, you can install any Node package in this app and then try it. Some of them might not work. But most of them, especially the ones that don't have like 58,000 dependencies, usually work. So I hope that whatever I need for this project works, but let's see how it goes. So let's just open this here. Okay, so this wrangler.toml file is the configuration of the worker. It has lots of comments and things that describe things that you can enable, like these queues and R2 buckets and other things, which we're going to get to. And the package JSON now has just Hono, this light framework as a dependency. And it also gave us a couple of scripts. So this dev would run the local instance of it, deploy would deploy it. And this, we're going to get to this later. So let's try dev. So is it npm run dev? So it starts a local server. And if I hit B or go to this URL, it gives me the same thing as was deployed. Okay, so now we have a basic web app that only routes to the root URL, and it just returns a simple text, nothing else. So it's in this index file. So this is the route, this is the method, and this is the thing that it returns. I can also change this to HTML and, I don't know, do this. Save. Now it's HTML. Basically, that's it. This is how the basic worker with TypeScript and Hono works. You don't have to use TypeScript. You can use plain JavaScript. You also have other options. You can write this in, I think they provide about 5 languages. You can write workers in Python, in Rust. There are drawbacks to everything. Basically, JavaScript, to which TypeScript compiles to or transpiles to, is the native thing. And I think it would be the best choice most of the time. If you use Rust, it's compiled into WASM, and then it runs with a little bit of overhead. So whatever you get by using Rust, you kind of lose by this WASM layer. And also all the features, all the support, all the tutorials, everything is mostly geared towards JavaScript and TypeScript. But it's okay. TypeScript I found lately, just I've never used TypeScript before, but it's all right. Okay, so what do we want now? Now we want that form. So remember my amazing drawing, this is supposed to be like an input field with a button. So this means that here I want to replace this with the form, and I have, so I never remember any HTML except for like this H1 stuff. So how do I write a form? I have no idea. So I'm going to actually copy something that I prepared. Yeah. So this is going to be like this big string like this. So it's a simple form with the input field and a button. So if we go check it out, it's going to look like this. Amazing, right? This is beautiful. This isn't technically correct HTML document, right? There's no HTML tag or anything. Again, just not to spend more time. Let's not do it here. Browsers are amazing, like they don't care. So this would work. And once I hit the submit button, it sends the post request to the submit endpoint. And if we do it, right, this is mandatory. If we do this, aha, it was type URL, which means I cannot put any garbage. So let's open some article. I don't know. Let's find something here like this, right? This is an article. So if I put it here, 404 not found. Of course, we don't have the submit endpoint. So let's handle that. This means, so yeah, this app constant is a new instance of the Hono framework thingy. And these Cloudflare bindings, I'm going to get to that later. So now I just want another route, and this is going to be post, and it's going to be on submit. Yeah, and the handler is going to be the same. Actually, this time it's going to be an async function because we're going to make some API calls. So yeah, this is going to be our submit handler. So the first thing is I want to get that thing which was in the input field, which means, so the C argument that is passed to all the handlers by default is the context. And it's, I think, yeah, it's the thing that contains, among other things, the request that came from the user. So you can get headers, and then you pass it along. So you can set the status and then return it with some body, and this would generate the response. So forms work like part of the body. So once the post request is made, in the body of that request, I can find the values of these fields, or this one field. So this name would specify how that field is named. So you can find it in the body, and we call this URL. So basically in C, there is this REQ thing, which is the Hono request. And inside of it, well, not inside of it, but it has a method called parse body. And I think the easiest way is to do this. Like we going to create a constant and then treat this. So like this. Oh yeah, and this is already a async function, so we need to do a wait. And basically, let's just check how it works. So I'm gonna just return, this is like a print debugging of this context. C HTML, oh, actually just text. right? So we're parsing the body, we're getting the URL as string, and then we're just returning generating a response with text URL. So if we try this again, here's that response. So we got it. We got it from the body successfully. So now we want to fetch the contents of that URL. It's a page, so we just want to get the HTML of that page. And once you are in this Cloudflare app, you have a bunch of functions available to you. One of them is fetch, which is kind of just like node fetch. I think it works slightly differently underneath, but it's compatible. So if I just do fetch URL, that's going to get it. And this fetch returns a promise to, what is it? Of a response, right? So we can do a thing like this. That's going to be our response. And hopefully, if that succeeded, the response text, I think it's response text, yes. Yeah, so you can get the body, you can get bytes, JSON. Since we expect these URLs to always point to some HTML documents, we can just get it as text. So this is going to be HTML, basically. And it's a function. Okay. So if we look at it now, here, it fetched the page, got the HTML, and returned it as text. And if you wonder why is it text, well, because we put text. So it's not rendered as HTML. If we do this, it actually kind of renders a copy of that page. As you notice, it didn't get any styles because, well, hopefully the author of that page didn't put like absolute links to CSS and stuff. So it's not really like archiving solution or anything, but we don't need it, right? We hope that it's a normal page without all the like spa abomination, and just its contents is enough for us to get the actual content of the article. So I'm interested in this stuff. Like I want to get this text and convert it to audio. Yeah, but before that, we need to get rid of everything else. Like this page is actually good. There isn't much else, but not all pages are like that. So we want some sort of readability processing, like this reader mode in browsers. So I looked around on npm package registry, and actually the one that many other packages use is this Mozilla Readability. Yes, this one. It works really well, I think. At least I've been using it in that other project, Minifeed, to get the contents of the articles to index them for search. Sometimes it fails, but like 95% it works. So it has zero dependencies, which is always a good sign for us. It doesn't mean it will work on Cloudflare, but this one should, I think, because it doesn't do DOM processing itself, which is usually the main reason why some packages don't work. They assume you have access to DOM or some sort of DOM, like JS DOM. Here, it expects you to take care of it, and it actually just does this processing and getting the text. So let's install it, right? I'm just going to open another tab here, and this was Linkcast. Yep. So what changed is now we have this Mozilla Readability as a dependency. And what do they say? Article, new readability document parse. So document. So by document, they expect a DOM object. And here is one problem. Yes. So we don't have access to DOM. It's not a browser environment. But the thing is, we don't, like, I know because I've tried, you cannot even use this JS DOM, which is like, I think it's the solution for having a DOM thing in Node. Like, this won't work. What I found does work, simply because I solved this problem before, is, let me see how it's called, Linkedom. Linkedom. I think it's pronounced like that. So it's DOM-like namespace for DOM-less environments, right? And it works, and it gets you the object that is compatible with most things that expect a DOM object. So I'm going to install that as well. Linkedom. That sounds Swedish. Linke. So now I have that as well, Linkedom. And it works like so. How does it work? Yeah, you import stuff, and then I want to. There was some sort of parse. Yeah, basically, yes. Parse HTML. You give it HTML, and it would give you this DOM document. So let's do that. I don't think we need DOM parser. So we're going to import just parse HTML. Stupid. Well, I like automations, right? I'm using here Biome.js, which is some sort of tool to do things for you in JavaScript and TypeScript environments. And I didn't disable this one feature, but most of the time it's really useful. But here, it detects that this import is not used. And once I save it, it just deletes it. But I don't know about you, I always have this workflow. I like using these tutorials, I import things first, and I save automatically every second. And then I go and write the actual code, and then it complains, hey, you don't have this thing imported. Well, you deleted it, come on. Okay, so let's not save. So we have this HTML, which is basically a long string. And now I want to have a document. Document. So this parse HTML is supposedly just expecting this HTML thing. And that's it. By the way, you have access to console log for like debugging. And also, if on Cloudflare there's this thing called observability, if you enable it, then in the dashboard I can show you maybe here. Whatever your app outputs as console log or console error, basically anything of output, gets into this log view. So here, this is minifeed, that blog reader thing I showed you, and here some logs, like a bunch of feeds got updated, some queues, etc. So while developing locally, this would be just, visible here in your running app. So if I run this thing again, type error web GPU, what is this? I'm wondering if this is related to... Yeah, I guess it just couldn't output this document. JSON? Here, if you press C, it clears the console nicely. Yeah. So this is the document that Linkedom provided us. Looks legit, I guess. Let's see. So now that we have it, we need this readability thing to convert it into plain text article. And I think it was opened here. Where is this readability? Yes, like this. And then this article would be, I guess, just a string. Okay, let's do it. Yes, so this readability is what is it? Readability, yes, like this. And what was it? It just returns. So it's synchronous and it just returns a string. So it's going to be like clean article, I guess. Clean maybe is the wrong name because we didn't do any of actual sanitizing. I don't think we need to because this readability thing would just strips all the tags anyway. But if you are interested in, and again, I had to solve this for this blog reader thing, things like sanitizer, which is again like de facto sanitizer in Node and modern web development, due to the same DOM restrictions, it doesn't work as is in Cloudflare. But Cloudflare has its own, it's got HTML rewriter. So it's an API of the worker that is built specifically for handling HTML documents or XML documents, I think. And it's quite easy to basically implement your own very fast sanitizer or any sort of like processor of HTML using it. So we're not going to do it today, but again, if you're interested, let me know. I can make a separate video about it. I know I sound like a total fanboy of Cloudflare. It's I always hated writing web apps. Like I used Rails for the longest time because I didn't want to make all these decisions, and it provides you with the environment with like defaults, and you just learn it and it works and you can solve your problem, make a product. Ideally, I always wanted to just handle HTTP. I know HTTP, I know HTML, I know SQL. That's enough, right? This is enough. You can run some processes on a Linux machine. You don't need much else to write web apps. But then, yes, okay, there's this SQL, injection, security, tokens, stuff. Once I discovered this Cloudflare platform, and again, it's probably the same on AWS, but I could never get through the dashboard of AWS. Like I use it for just one service for mail, this SES, simple email service, I think. And even there, just setting it up, I get anxiety looking at the dashboard of AWS. With Cloudflare, at least that part is easier. And I don't know. I like it. It's minimal level of abstraction on top of things that I know and care about. Yes. Okay. So where were we? We got the clean article, right? And it's supposed to be just text. So let's look at it and maybe just as text. Yeah, maybe that thing doesn't return a string. What does it return? Let's see. Where was this readability? Yes. Parse returns an object containing... right. Okay. It's the whole object. Makes sense. Content. Let's look at content. Like this. clean art. Yeah, it's probably null. Yeah, sure. That's true. So what we got, the first item to readability construction should be a document object. Yes. And it is. I think, wait. Right, yeah. This parse HTML. Yeah, okay. We need to do this, what's it called? Destructuring or whatever? Yeah. Now we get the content, but it's still HTML. Right, it's this processed readability HTML. It still has some HTML, so it's not just text, but it's clean. Like it's supposed to be, if we do this as HTML, it's kind of this clean view. Okay, still makes sense. I think, yeah. Now I'm wondering if I send this string, including this clean but still HTML tags, to OpenAI text-to-speech, would it read all the tags, or do I need to get rid of them? Maybe I need to get rid of them. Anyway, let's see. Let's see how it goes. Maybe it's smarter. So now, basically, I have this readability app, right, which is nice. Just add some nice styles to it, and it's already kind of cool. But I want now to send this to OpenAI. And OpenAI, I have it here, right? No, OpenAI TTS. Text-to-speech OpenAI API. Okay. So it gives you a simple API. There is a JS package which simplifies, so you don't have to construct your own requests, which is supposed to be working. So it's called, what's it called? I think it's just called OpenAPI. Sorry, OpenAI. Yes, so 7 dependencies. Okay, I think all of them should still work. Node fetch should work. So let's try it. If you install a package that doesn't work, it wouldn't give you any warnings in the installation because this is just a normal Node project. But once you call something from that package, you're going to get an error here. Okay, so let's listen to some examples.
The sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Yeah, that sounds pretty. Alloy. It's like, what's it? Horizon Zero Dawn? Alloy? Doesn't sound like her, but sure. Yeah, so we basically have to instantiate a client. And now this works. All right, this is Python. At my day job, I usually mostly write Python because the whole scientific. So I work at this quantum computing company, and it's a scientific company basically. It's building quantum computers and doing research in quantum algorithms, and the whole thing, the whole industry is just Python. End-to-end Python everywhere. It's interesting. So if you are unhappy about the ecosystem of JavaScript, of all the package managers, like, oh, there's NPM and Yarn and NP whatever, it's a mess, yes, but boy, Python just, it's on another level. It's so convoluted and confusing, it never ends. Like there are package managers to install package managers, there are wrappers on top of other package managers, there are solutions to a slow package manager, which is to wrap it into just another Rust-based binary with compatible commands, but it's the environments, damn, it's just, okay, rant over. We're in a safe space now. It's amazingly clean and simple Node ecosystem. So, right. I think we need this. The speech create. And all we have to provide is the input as string, which we're going to pass that document or clean HTML. Let's see how it goes. But first I need the API key. So I think I already have one. And I'm going to show you my API key. Actually, no, wait. I'm going to look into my notes. Yeah, I have an API key. I'm going to show you the key. I'm going to see if someone is... Okay, so I trust the audience that nobody would use this key. It's private. It's mine. It's built to my credit card. Please don't use it. Like, thank you. Okay, so I think basically this is it. So in this example, it's actually in the DOM environment. So it's like, I think it's saving stuff to a file system. We don't have a file system in the Cloudflare Worker environment. But all I want is get the bytes basically from OpenAI. And then I'm going to deal with the bytes. So it's like this, OpenAI unknown word. I don't know, it's quite known. And I think, yeah, so here API key organization project. So organization project optional, I don't care about them. But I need the key. And the key is here. And so this was what dict. Yeah, I guess like this, API key. Right. So this is my key. Okay, whatever. And now the response. So I want to do basically this. TTS1. So yeah, they say there's TTS1 and TTS something. Also, there are other voices. Yeah, let's listen. Wait.
In the heart of the city, there is a large park where the library is a quiet and peaceful place.
I don't know.
The train chugged along the tracks, carrying passengers to their destinations.
Oh my God, that sounded like not a good destination.
In the kitchen, the aroma of freshly baked.
The beach was a popular spot on a hot summer day.
I don't know.
The sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
I like Alloy. I think I'm going to stick with Alloy. Yes, what else? They give you different formats. FLAC. I guess that's cool. AAC. Opus. I think Opus is the default one, right? Oh no, the default one is MP3. Right, okay. They support a bunch of languages. Interesting. So we're going to stick to English now, I think. Maybe the text language, it doesn't care. So let's not deal with it now. But I think they also had two different modes, like TTS. Is it in pricing? Yes, they was saying something about... Yeah, so TTS1 HD. TTS1 is optimized for real-time use cases, and TTS1 HD is optimized for quality. So I think those examples were regular TTS. They were already pretty good. Ultimately, if there is a difference in quality, I don't care that it takes like a few minutes. I don't need real-time processing. I just want this podcast to appear a few minutes later after my submission. So probably TTS, let's try TTS1 HD. There's some rate limits, so 50 requests per minute for paid accounts. Okay. So here's one thing. It has a limit on the actual size of the text. So it's just 4096 characters, equivalent to 5 minutes of audio of default speed. This is probably okay for the most articles, but if the article is longer, it's gonna suck, right? It's gonna just abruptly end. To handle this, we would need to split the article into chunks of this size or smaller, submit them separately, get the bytes separately, and somehow find out how to connect them together. I don't know the format, how the MP3 files look like. Probably if you just concatenate the bytes, it might work. I don't know. Let's probably not handle this again in this video. Let's just cut the article to this, and then maybe in the next time we're gonna handle the chunking. And is it possible to stream? Yes, we don't care. We just want the MP3. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so this bothers me. Learn the word OpenAI. Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's keep that fast TTS for testing purposes now, and the input would be this content, right? Like this. It complains about the fact that it is possibly null, which is true because we're not guaranteed to get stuff from this readability thing. So ideally here, like handle actually, not having a response from readability. I didn't spell that right. Yeah. So there's going to be lots of to-dos. Like actually here also there's a to-do, even though the HTML form has this type URL in the input, that doesn't mean anything, right? You can just bypass it by editing or you can just submit the request to the endpoint directly without any HTML. So we need to check that this is actually a HTTP link, right? So again, probably like to do validate URL. Also, this might fail. Fetching it doesn't mean anything. It could be unfetchable. It could be that it's fetchable, but there is no text. It could be some random endpoint. It could be that it's text, but it's not parsable to HTML. So you would have to, catch some errors on each of these lines. But again, for simplicity, let's not do much. We just assume everything works because most of the time, everything works. Like this has been my experience with programming so far. Yes, and I think that's it. So this would give us a promise to MP3, and that would be what? Bytes. So here they're creating a buffer from array buffer from that thing. Okay, we can do the same. Actually, so before we actually save this into anywhere, let's not save it. Let's just return it in the same response. So to check if this API even works. So we're going to do the same thing, right? We're going to do array buffer. Yes, await. Is it bytes? Okay. Not a good name, but sure. And I think now I'm wondering how to return this. If I just do this, it's not going to be HTML. So is it? What can I do there? A response. Let's see. This. Yeah, I think if we just try to put it in the body, nothing else. Let's see what happens. Probably nothing good. So now it takes a while because hopefully it's sending that thing to OpenAI. Yeah. Maybe while testing, we should cut the text to some, few sentences. Oh, okay. So now we have some bytes coming. So is it MP3? Let's save it. And what is this? I don't want this. Where's my downloads?
Data class page, readability page /
Okay.
back. Main article section. Light YouTube video.
Beautiful.
KNLDLVZX0. Title. Where do you want to?
That is exactly what I wanted, right? I wanted a beautiful woman voice to read me the contents of HTML. Okay, so now I want to strip this HTML. I'm pretty sure this readability thing should... So actually, wait, good news, right? It works. We got the thing converted. It took a while, so here, while testing, let's just what is it, substring, just a few characters. Right. In the end, we're going to put this 496, I guess. I don't know how the OpenAI API would respond if you give it a bigger thing. Would it just reject it or process the first 4096 characters? But for now, let's do this, some small number, maybe a bit bigger. And this HTML stuff. Okay, so what is this readability? There should be a way to get already the contents without all the HTML. Yeah, right here in the Node.js usage, they recommend using JSDOM. Yeah, and JSDOM gives you kind of browser-like DOM thing where you have window. Okay. If you're going to, we strongly recommend to use sanitizer library like DOM Purify. Yeah, like this DOM Purify, I think that wouldn't work in Cloudflare. But again, now we don't care about sanitizing. I just want the contents as plain text. Content, HTML string, text content. Yes, okay. Text content of the article with all the tags removed. Nice. Okay. So basically this. Okay, let's try this again. Boom. Now hopefully this should be faster. Yes, test 2, MP3. Yes.
Back, where do you want to go today? In November 1994, Miker.
Okay. Nice. It works. So what I want to do now is to save this file to the cloud storage. And the cloud storage in Cloudflare is called R2. And it's supposedly 0 egress fees with a caveat. Egress means like basically downloading, getting stuff out of it. And this is a big competitive advantage, I think. Other storages usually have some egress fees, but the caveat here, it's not in all cases. So it's egress if it goes into, for example, the Cloudflare worker. So if you access this bucket from the worker and then the worker serves the content, then it's 0 egress on the R2 side. I think it's okay. So it is S3 compatible object storage. And if I just get into my account somewhere, where is this? R2 object storage, yes. So I have a bunch of buckets, and you can usually with all these things, so there's this database and queues and other things. Usually you can create anything in the dashboard, but then you would have to reflect those bindings in your Wrangler TOML in this thing. So here they give a bunch of examples how to do it. It's usually easier to just do it from the command line instead of the dashboard, because the command line would then tell you what to add, like exactly this, put this into your Wrangler TOML file. So maybe we just look here. So there was this R2, yes. Actually, with the buckets, there isn't much to configure. What this is, create a bucket. I have, oh yeah, so basically this Wrangler thing has a bunch of subcommands. So if you just do npx Wrangler, it shows you all of those. Oh, wait. And if you do R2, it will show you things for R2. And I can do create. Right, so for bucket, I have create update list, blah, blah. So I want to create and call this link. What did we call it? Linkcast. That's a terrible name. I'm sorry. Linkcast. And then I think that's it, right? Create and name. Okay, and now it tells us, put this in your... These bindings are a way to access whatever you created in the other parts of the Cloudflare environment from a worker. Anything you put in here, you're supposed to get access to it from anywhere from the worker. And to generate types for it, there is this script. Where is it? This. So if we run this now, and it's npx, and we look into this file now, there's a new thing. There's a R2 bucket named Linkcast. Maybe I should have called it like Linkcast MP3 assets or something, but whatever. Now, remember when we created this Hono thing, these described exactly that. So these are the bindings. Whatever you put inside, like you can put environment variables, some secrets, it's all going to be typed through this interface. So since we have this, we are supposed to be able to get to this link cast bucket from the environment. And the environment is a property of context. And this isn't like Hono or anything. This is Cloudflare Workers. This is how it works. If I go to C environment and link cast, this, yeah, it's an unknown word. Learn this word now. This gives us access to the bucket. And I actually don't love, like I usually name these bindings with capital letters. So like, let's call it R2 bucket for media. And if I regenerate this, now it's called R2 bucket media. And I'm going to call it like this. And a R2 bucket thing has a bunch of methods, and they are very simple. Like you put or delete or get. We want to put a new file. And in the dashboard, actually, if you go, it will actually show you the things inside. You can upload things from your computer, and then you can make your thing public. And then those files would be just downloadable from the public internet. We want to put, what does put want? Put want a key and value. There are some options. We probably don't care about the options, but we need basically key and value. The key would be the file name. So we need to come up with a unique file name. Maybe the easiest thing would be to take the current date, the timestamp, right? Or we can get the article title, but that is not necessarily unique. Yeah, let's just do just a timestamp for now. Basically just date now. So that's going to be the key. And contents, we want the MP3 extension. So maybe do this like this. Like that, right? And then this MP3 array buffer would be the contents. I think we still need options though, because what is this? R2 options, content type. So when you save objects there, you would like to tell it, yeah, what is the type of this content? And it would be easier when you get the object back that it comes with the correct type. So what were those options? Options are to put options. HTTP metadata, I think, content type, string. And those are like regular HTTP things like, you know, text, XML or whatever. We want audio. So what is the content type for MP3? Yeah, like this basically, content type, audio, MPEG, right? So we're making lots of questionable decisions, right? We're going to hardcode this MPEG, we hardcoded this MP3 just because we rely on the fact that this OpenAI API gives us by default MP3. We didn't specify it here, you don't parameterize it, so it's like, it's not good code, right? There's so many things, maybe, again, this is a separate video to just go over all the problems with this, but this is a quick prototype and it's dirty. Right, so what was this? Options, or is this just the third parameter? Right, at first it was HTTP metadata, yes, this, and oh, actually, yeah, I have all the types here, nice. Okay, so it's content type, like this. I guess I don't need this anymore. Okay. So again, this is asynchronous, and I don't think it does anything. So yeah, let's just test it. So one thing that doesn't work locally is the actual saving to the public or to the like remote bucket. It saves some locally, and I had troubles accessing it locally. So instead, let's just run this in this remote mode, which should be equivalent to the production mode. And what was the command? No, it doesn't have a, so let's add another command here. It was, so Wrangler, was it deploy? Or is it no? No. It's dev remote, like this, I think. Right. In development, you should use a separate R2 bucket than the one you'd use in production. Please create a new R2 bucket with Wrangler bucket create name and add this name a preview bucket name. Okay, yes. So basically, it doesn't want us to use the same bucket in our remote previews and actual production, which makes sense. So I'm going to create like preview. All right, no underscores. Link as preview. So it asks us to create a new thing in the Wrangler toml, but I want, what's it? Preview bucket name to the existing binding. So bucket name and preview bucket name would be this link cast preview. No, wait, this one. Like this. Now if we try to do this again, it should work. So we know this works, but now what I'm interested in is looking into the bucket and seeing that we have a file. And yes, we have a file. Okay, so the type is correct. It has MP3 and has this just a long timestamp thing. So let's download it and see that it sounds okay.
Back. Where do you want to go today? In November?
Yep. Okay. Right. So we are like 70% there. We get the article, we get the readability thing, we convert it to audio, we save the MP3. Now I want to generate the RSS feed of those files. And the generation of RSS feeds is simple enough. You can just basically output a string in certain formats. We'll look for npm package to simplify it. But we need to store somewhere the actual list of those MP3s. So we could just use the R2 API to list the files, but it would be just files, right? It would be at most file names, which are timestamps. Ideally, I would like to have a proper listing with the original title name, maybe part of the description, no, like the actual text that we extracted, and then the link to the file. And if we want to save something in the Cloudflare Workers thing, the easiest thing is probably key value storage. So it's called KV, very imaginative. It's very simple. It's a key value storage. Like imagine a distributed dictionary. It's eventually consistent because it's replicated on the whole like Cloudflare network. It is a problem. This eventual consistency takes like a few seconds to replicate it everywhere. It is a problem if it's critical for you. Like if you need immediate consistency, then there are other things like durable objects in Cloudflare. For us, I think it's not a problem because usually if I write something to this key value storage and then I want to access it, in our use case, it's going to be from the same location. And in that case, you're not going to see this consistency issues, because unless you like teleport to Tokyo and then access it there in the same second. So I think it's good enough, and it's very easy to work with because it's like basically storing key value pairs. I guess I'm usually just using my project name or worker name as the namespace, and then, or is it, I don't remember what is this namespace thing. I'm gonna call this like linkcast items. Right, it's this. Yeah, namespace is actually a command, part of the command. Right. Yeah, it says a namespace is created using a concatenation of your worker's name. And, right, it already puts the, yeah, this is ugly. It already puts the actual worker name in front. So I don't need to, right? This is because I don't trust computers to do smart things. So let's create this one. The old one, whatever, we're going to delete later. So here, again, we put this in the toml thing. And binding, again, I like it to call with all caps like items. And then if we call this a script, again, the interface is updated and we can access the key value thing. So here we have, so we already awaited for the R2 to save. So at this point, again, we should catch some errors, but assuming everything works, by now we should have that file accessible there. So I want now to save some probably just JSON thing into my key value storage. Yeah, maybe let's describe. Yeah, let's describe the item that we want to save. Item to save, I guess, or just item, whatever. It's gonna be title. And the title is coming from, right, remember this readability thing where we got text content? I think it also has title, of course. Content, this, the URL, probably. This is, you don't need to put it twice if it's the same name, and the timestamp, or now let's just put the file name, right? Now, having this item, it should be now possible to generate that RSS feed. Yeah. Okay. But first, we have to save it to the key value storage. So again, the CENV, what was it? R2 bucket media. And again, these are the methods we have on the key value storage, put, delete, stuff like that. We want to put, wait, what if it's something already there? Right. I think the idea here is that we're gonna assume there's possibly something already there. We're not going to put items as separate things in the, how should we? No. This is probably not the best performance-wise if you have very big number of articles, but I'm thinking for simplicity, I'm just going to have one thing, one object in the key value storage. It's going to be this big-ass JSON consisting of items. And whenever I have to put a new thing in, I load the old one, append the new item, reserialize and save it. This way, it's going to be very easy to get it because I just get this one object. You don't have to go through a listing. But yeah, there's probably a problem if you get to very big. There are some limitations on the size. It's not that much. It's not that little, actually. You can save bytes and files, and we could have actually saved MP3 files into this key value storage as well. I've done similar things with PDFs, some other files, big ones. It works. But yes, so first let's get, and I'm going to assume that one object is under a key called all items. Yeah, this is already not good naming in this project at all, right? Okay, so this is going to be like existing items, and it's a weight, right? Okay, so now we assume that thing that we got is JSON. So it's let's call it, I don't know, value like this to differentiate, and the actual, it's going to be called like this, right? It's going to complain because this is possibly null. Why am I doing R2? Right, this is KV items. Is it still get? Yes, get. Okay. It's possibly null, in which case we just have to create a new, right. So I'm going to assume that JSON is a list, or what's it in JavaScript, array of item objects. So if this comes empty, then I want to have an empty array. Right. If this is not null, then we JSON parse, and otherwise we get the empty array. And now I want to push. So set push. Yeah, our newly created item. And now we do the same, but in reverse. KV items put. And we use that same key, all items, which is stupid, but sure. And we put this existing articles. But yes, we stringify it back because it just stores strings. Okay. So let's check. At this point, we should get the key value. The key value should be populated. So we can just maybe do this and hopefully see that the thing is inside. No errors here. Do this. Cannot read properties of undefined. Right, this could be because we didn't restart the server, I guess. So it complains about reading get. Right here. So yeah, could be, I don't know. Let's try it again. Aha, it says the same. For KV storage, we also need a preview thing. So let's create items preview. This is a bit confusing now. For R2, you just create a separate bucket. It's just another bucket. For key value storage, you have to create it with this preview flag. So I guess like this. Yeah. Yeah, as you see, it's a bit work in progress and some of the consistency in developer experience, but it's fine. So now this should hopefully work. Okay. Let's see what it does. Yeah, we get to the end. And yeah, so this is now the contents of our key value storage. It's an array, and we have this one object with the title, the content, and the URL of the original article, and the file name. So this file name is hopefully whatever we have here, right? If we copy this. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, this works. It works. This works. I guess that's it. No, right. How do I access this bucket now? If we go to settings, there are ways, right? You could enable this R2 dev domain. Not allowed. Why is it not allowed? It used to be allowed. Allow access, right? You have to put it. Anyway, you can enable this. It's good for development. It's going to give you this like service domain, and the files will be available. To actually do a public availability, you would have to connect a domain. Now, if you have some domains on Cloudflare, it's going to be very easy. I do. Another option is not allow public access to the bucket at all, but rather handle it through the worker. So basically, you would create a new endpoint in the worker that would accept the file name. And then the worker would connect to the R2 bucket. It would use that get method, get the bytes, and return them. Yeah, I think we should do that because we would have more control, and also I don't want to deal with the domains DNS. So let's have another endpoint. This is going to be get, and let's call it, I don't know, audio. And then in Hono, when you specify a router, like in many other frameworks, you can put some parameters here. So this is for get. So whatever we put after the audio slash would be treated as an argument. So file name. Yeah. And this is going to be, again, async function because we're going to get stuff from the R2 bucket, which is asynchronous. So first we have to get this value and file name. It's accessible through this request parameter. Yes, param. So file name. And now we can get the file from the bucket. It's await R2 bucket media get. And we get it by that file name, right? Again, should be some, let's actually, if should be some checks that I wanted to say. So if there is no file, if that thing is not found in R2, I think it would just return us null. So this falsy file, if it's false, then we do just text, I guess, file not found. And I think you can do this, right? Doesn't complain. Can you? Yeah, status code, extend status code, so you can, it will actually tell your browser it's 404. If we pass this line, then that means we have a file and we can just return it. Yes, the way we returned this before, remember here, it wasn't the best. So actually, I think we can construct a new response with the correct headers because we want it to be this audio MPEG header. So we're going to do return new response. And this file thing, I'm wondering if it's just that or object body. So object body that we get, we want the readable stream. So we get the body, not just the whole thing. So file body, right? And then again, these headers, which we had somewhere, this content type. No, this should be just a, what is it, headers? And this should be exactly like per HTTP, right? This should be audio MPEG, I think. Headers. These are like Danish headers. I think this is it. Right, let's check. Basically, this means now that where we had that goddamn bucket. Anyway, we don't need the bucket. This file name, right? It's in the bucket. So if I do audio this,
Back.
yeah,
Where
I
do you
get
wanna
the
go today?
actual audio.
In November 1990, back.
Nice. Okay. That's it. I think that's it. That's all we need. Now we are ready to generate the RSS feed. And I think there is this thing called RSS. Podcast RSS. Podcast RSS. Fast and simple podcast RSS generator built for Node projects. Yeah, that's what we need. And it has one dependency to RSS. And RSS has two dependencies to basically things that should work, I think. Okay, so install podcast. Good. Installed. And now, yes, we can create a new podcast. And so this is going to be another endpoint where I would get my RSS. So maybe also put it in the beginning, all the small ones in the beginning. Feed. Yeah. Okay, feed options. Feed options, we have title, description, generator, blah, blah. Give me an example to copy paste. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of options. Maybe I don't care about most of them. Yeah. Not to waste time, we're just not gonna deal with those yeah, let's, you're gonna customize this, right? But we're gonna have this my super private cool Linkcast feed. Oh, that's gonna be the description. Yeah, good enough. And then you can add items to it, right? Like this. So we need to get items first, and we get them from the KV, right? CNV KV items get, was it all items? Yeah, and we assume this is actually items, what we used to call it, KV value, which is a stupid name, but now actual items would be JSON parse. I don't know why I'm creating all this intermediary variables. This is what Python does to you. Right. Again, it could be that, or it could be null. So let's do the same. Why does it does like this? Because, but we did something similar already. Am I losing my mind? JSON parse, await all items. Right, await, of course. It's a promise. So now we're going to go over each item in that JSON, if any, and do this feed add item, right? And again, we actually have the date because we created the timestamp. Okay, again, let's make it very simple. The title is item title. The description is item, what was it? Content, and we have URL and file name. Content. URL, well, it's URL. Oh no, it's item URL. And then, yeah, probably should have saved the timestamp. So the most important thing is the enclosure. This what makes it like a podcast compatible. File. I think this should be just URL and type, right? No, not type. So we need to get the current. Do we need the absolute path? Probably not. So I'm wondering if this would work with podcast clients actually. So what was it? Audio, and then the item file name, right? This is what it was. Again, in a nice way, you should create a type or interface for this thing, and then you get nicer experience. But yeah, we have the file name, and I think that's it. Yeah, and now we need to build this thing, build XML. So we can just return a body or text, I guess. So returning this XML view of this feed object that we just created. And we still have to provide the content type, which is probably same as this, but for, actual XML. I think this should be the status code and the third. Yes, okay. Let's see. Where were we? We already have an error. So this is typical. So you don't have stream in the XML package somewhere. Node.js compat flag to your project. Yeah. There is a deeper Node.js compatibility, and you do it. How do you do it? Like this. So this somehow magically makes more Node API compatibility work. And if we open this now, it's supposedly... right. Wait, what? What is this? What are we getting here? Feed, XML. Is it how, well, we're getting XML, but why is my browser trying to render some sort of non-working player? I think I know. Yes, because I kept this. This is why you don't copy paste. It's, what is this? Content type for XML. Is it something like application? Application XML, or only for, I guess this. Text XML, application XML. I don't know what's the difference. But yeah, I'm a programmer. I write applications in XML. Now it works. Okay. So supposedly this sort of relative link should work because the clients parsing this RSS feed would do this. Do this.
Back.
So I guess let's check this with the validator if this actually is a valid RSS. This validator complains usually about something. Yeah, undefined channel author email. What do you want? Right. Managing editor, webmaster, copyright, docs, image URL, site URL. Okay. Lots of stuff. I'm not sure if it actually would validate the podcast specific feed. Undefined channel element author. So you must have an author per channel. What? iTunes author. Okay, maybe this, let's validate podcast feed. I bet all of these would ask for an actual, yeah. Okay. Let's, yeah, you know what? Let's just deploy this. So we have zero security. and I'm going to take it down probably. And in the next video, we're going to implement, if you're interested, let me know. We're going to implement some sort of authentication. But if we deploy this, then we will be able to get publicly available URL, and then I can try it in the actual, podcast player. So what is it? Deploy, npm run deploy. So it's going to deploy to where exactly? I think it's going to deploy by default to my workers dev thingy. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, this one. And let's find another article. So far, we've been testing it with that one article, and what if it only works with that one? No, this is too short, though we don't care. Nah. Politics. Okay, this one. This one doesn't work. This has a bunch of code, which is going to be stupid. Okay, sure. Let's do this politics one, because it usually has lots of text. Yes. Convert the audio. Oh, wait. We still have this returning of the file, which we probably don't want. So let's just return HTML saying, great success. And redeploy this. Yeah, probably this should have gone. Things that we would immediately benefit from are some authentication, at least some, token-based. We can do basic auth with HTTP basic auth. We could actually make this into an app that supports multiple users, and then each user would have their own feed, maybe. Though, without limitations, we cannot keep this as a free service, because those things, the storage and the OpenAI calls, they cost money. So, I don't know, maybe transform this into a little SaaS, maybe. Again, let me know in the comments. We could maybe build this business together, the business. Okay. It's deployed, so let's try this. So if any of the steps fail, this app would just error out, because we don't handle anything, which is stupid. But if we go here now, we have 2 articles. Yeah. So let me try to subscribe to it on my phone. It's going to be so stupid if this doesn't work. It's suspiciously long waiting. I don't know what's happening. But now we can validate a podcast feed because we have it, right? Let's see. The link tag has that itself, which does not point to valid RSS feed, will be denied. Okay. Artwork did not finish media tests. Right. Yeah, I think these are all the problems that we have to fix. First of all, media file. Can we have another validator? I think we have to provide absolute links to the media files. Is it RSS feed? Yes. Wow. Cover art must be. This is what is this? So these are specifically for Apple podcasts to submit it to the Apple directory. We do not want to do that, probably, because it's a private feed for myself. So I don't care about the artwork, though it would be nice to have artwork. We could have it. But I think probably the biggest issue is that media thing, which means we just have to make one simple change in the feed thing. When we construct this, we need to prepend this with the our domain, like the actual first part of the URL, which we can do statically because we know it, or we can do, I think, in the request itself, there's URL, and this is kind of stupid, I guess. In the request itself, there's URL, and we can construct like this JavaScript URL thing out of it, and then get origin. That would be the origin. That would be the first part, like this. So let's test it locally. Where do we have it locally? We don't have it locally. Feed. Enclosure. Now we have this actual file, but because it wasn't deployed, we can't access it. Okay. Let's try just to deploy it and see if this new better feed works. Did it deploy? Yes. So now enclosure, this. Is it the correct one? Yes, it is. So let's try to revalidate this with this thing. What did the other validator say? Artwork category, tags, item 1 is valid. Could not, I know. Pub date should be there. Yes. Fatal. No artwork, no ID. There's, the MP3 file has no metadata. So it has no ID3 tags with, author and content and stuff like that. So probably also a problem. We might want to fix that as well, but let me try. 10 minutes later, I found the minimum amount of things you have to add to make this a valid feed. So you need the iTunes image, which is the cover image. I just found some random file. And these feed URL and site URL. We're doing the same trick with the host origin. It should point to the same feed and then to some valid website. And then in the items for each enclosure, you need the GUID and date. Since we didn't save the timestamp except for the file name, we just giving a new empty current date. So this now is still not a very good podcast feed, but it works at least. So I got it into the player, and
the ground game is everywhere now.
That episode is there. So the very minimum amount of things work. So to do for the next episodes are authentication, chunking of long articles and fixing the actual MP3s with tags at least. All right, I think that's it for today. Thank you. I'm trying to grow this channel again a bit. So donate your kidney, subscribe, whatever. See ya.